the book. Okay, so thank you so much for being in this class, the Return of the Heretic with Master Teacher. Let me see, I'll turn it up a little bit. So, better, yes. Today, subjective thought. It's quite a talk if you listen to it. It's quite a talk, it's probably 1.5 hours. So that's great to listen to. And it's also great to read the book, the transcript of the talk. It's really amazing. So today I want to take parts of it out of it. And that is the parts where he says actually that Course in Miracles teaches. And then there you'll see in the text it's happening many times. And so why am I picking that out? Well, the other one is Brother Andrew asking questions, and those are really great to listen to and see how Master Teacher responds to them. But here, when we come to the pure teaching of A Course in Miracles, and actually the teaching that Master Teacher teaches, and that is related to the truth of you, is when he says the Course in Miracles teaches. So I want to skim through this, and immediately there's a confirmation of the first things he says in the book, in this chapter, because he says like everything that we state in this world is a reduction. It is always a reduction. It's always putting a limit on it. Whether it's a great scientific essay about something, it will still be a reduction. So in what we do in the class is not reducing it. What we're doing is trying to see, like making an attempt to listen what actually is being said, to listen what actually is being taught here. And not as much as like, okay, that is what the Master Teacher said. No, this is what the truth tells us. You know, this is what truth tells us. And that is your personal, individual way of receiving that information. So I take that with me in how we present this, how we share this, how we join in this together. Because otherwise it looks like, okay, this is what Master Teacher said. And it's like, no, don't want to do that. I don't want to dissect it. I want to use it as an expression of the truth that you are. So it is a direct expression of that. So you can object to it like you would, no matter who would tell you that. It will still be happening. And we'll see how this works today. Everything is a reduction of a single state of consciousness. This is a fact. So I'm just reading a couple of lines. Everything is a reduction of a single state of consciousness. This is a fact. This is what, for example, all the quantum physicists and the biochemists and philosophers are attempting to do. Find an ultimate singularity or truth. It should be obvious to anyone in a state of real so-called analysis of consciousness to see that there is a unified force field, and that is the same as God. There would ultimately be no difference in the idea of a unified, of apparent objectivity to a singularity. That would obviously constitute God. See, this is not so easy to read when you open this up. When these are the first lines, you have like, okay, so where's this all about? I have no idea what you're talking about. So, and then the next step is then, stay with it. Just wait. Don't be confused with all the words and all that. So he's got your attention. And this is important. Remember that in this state of consciousness, everything is reduced. Historically, in that sense, Paul reduces Jesus, doesn't he? Augustinian ideas reduce Neoplatonism. And of course you say, yeah, of course, I know that. Sure. So we'll just skip through. It's okay. So that's the great thing with listening to Master Teacher. It's not about the words he says. It's not about really understanding what he says, because he will put that upside down for you. He will give you no opportunity to understand what he's saying. So what he does, at least that's my experience with listening to him, is he literally invites you into a line of thought, and you discover that that's actually a knot where you get completely stuck in. So that whole thing you can let go of. And when you let go of that, you actually hear what it says. It's a bit like that. It's like a koan, what he uses later on in the text too. It's a koan. So a koan is also like, what is the sound of one hand clapping is a koan. Well, the sound of one hand clapping, you immediately go with your mind like, wait a minute. Yeah, that should not make any noise at all. But see, your mind is not ready with it, because it is a very legitimate question. Like, what is the sound of one hand clapping, for instance? So the koans are being used in Zen Buddhism to get you out of your thinking mind, out of your understanding, to open up to a new experience of yourself. That is how that is being used. So Master Teacher in his words is actually doing the same thing. Over and over he will get you into an idea where you can absolutely not follow what he's saying, or he expresses sentences that are like a half a page long. I don't know if you recognize that, but some of these sentences are so long that you have hardly an idea of a beginning and an end. So that's brilliant. That's really great. And don't let yourself be distracted by it, but use it as there's a way of communicating that is happening right now. In that communication, it will be so perfectly clear that it has nothing to do with the form of the words, but really with the certainty with they are expressed, with the conviction. Okay, so all limited consciousness is willing to acknowledge the occurrence of an expansion or a realization, generally speaking, as to music, or as to art, or as to philosophy, as to science, as to religion. But the inevitable tendency reduces it to a form of duality, simply because the consciousness is not capable of a notion of what you might term non-objective existentialism. There is no truer statement in the universe than cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. See, and we all know this one. I think, therefore I am. It's like, yeah, I know that one. Finally something I recognize. That's so great. So then the next sentence he says immediately, but that brings you to the question, who is this I that thinks? I think, therefore I am. But who am I? So see, there's no escape. So he invites you to actually make a connection with what he's sharing, and also bringing it into a 180-degree upside down relationship that you still don't know, that you still cannot figure it out what he's actually sharing. There's no truer statement in the universe than cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. But once you've arrived at that inevitable conclusion, the question continues to rise, oh, but who am I? Whence comes the notion of my existence? Wow, that's a great occurrence. Yes, this is where it's about. We want to know who we really are. So here we go with the connections with A Course in Miracles. All that creation finally is unity verification, or the extension of a total idea. How do you express that? This is A Course in Miracles. Everybody finally only creates their own notion of themselves. Don't you see that? It falls into a limited framework of consciousness, simply because they have identified themselves as separate from that single unity. See, and this is what you naturally do as a human being. You limit yourself. You're putting yourself into a limited frame of reference. And see, these words I've used in all the teaching that I did. It's like it's always placed in a limited idea about yourself. And that means no matter what you try to understand, you will always put it back in this little matchbox instead of opening it up to the universe to let it be revealed to you. You know, he says it here very clear, but I love that because, see, the understanding is not going to bring you there. And you've heard that 1,000 times, but now it becomes very obvious. You will put it back into your limited framework in which you think that you exist, in which you think that you are who you are. So that will never leave a space open to experience yourself in a whole different configuration. Like with dancing, to bring that in, like with dancing, suddenly you feel that you lose the grip of, like, I don't have to move. No, it's moving me. It's immediately, like the music is so beautifully swinging. It takes me out of myself. So that would not be possible if you would define yourself as who you are. So it's like you step a little bit outside of that yourself. Suddenly you feel like, oh, there's no boundaries. I can just move or not. Who knows what your experience is? But it is an invitation, at least, to go beyond your own description of yourself and just feel the movements. Feel that you're being moved by the music or by the vibration of that moment. And seeing that is immediately resonating with your with your passion. You want to give it everything because you feel that. It's like, oh yeah, let's go for it. Yes, this rocks, you know. So this is good to see that's a great tool to come to the edges of yourself, of your consciousness, in which you don't have to control yourself, but you can actually trust the vibration of the moment. Oh yeah, so this is very nice too. This is the process that we teach, which is nothing more than what we started out with in a conversation in A Course in Miracles, where we attempt to teach the consciousness to look at what is apparently objective, and not establish its reality, but rather ask it what it is. So to bring some more words to that and make that clear is like, you, instead of defining the things that you see, like this is a really broad teaching in that sense. Like instead of defining what you see, you ask what you see what it is. You let it be revealed to you what it is. Like, what is this? A body sitting next to me, or what is this person sitting next to me? What is that? And you say like, well, yeah, that's a body. No, now you're putting it back into your limited framework. No, you don't know what it is. It's going to be revealed to you if you're open to receive that. So coming from the total idea where Master Teacher is teaching from, coming from that total idea that there's unity and that there's just one consciousness and that everything is connected, that might be a totally different perception that comes to you when you start to ask for it. when you start to ask, like, I don't know what this cup is for. Who knows what this is going to tell me? Like, what is this for? I've no clue. I'm going to let it be revealed to me, and not use it as an extra proof to see that something can be separate of me, because I have enough proof of that. I don't believe that, and there must be a different way of looking at it, and that is exactly what I want to discover. If you were to look at it in that way, I would say to you, everything that you think there is all that there is, and there's nothing but that. So that's, to bring that back, it's like the everything that you think is there is what is there for you. You're not able to see anything else. So if you still believe in your definition of how everything is and how you're supposed to look at it, then that is all that you see. So does that leave anything open for a different experience of yourself? No, completely not. It's completely closed. And so we've done that. We have done that, and it was not really the thing that we wanted. We came to the conclusion of, no, that's not what we want. No longer I believe my own ideas in this. No longer is it that I want to do it this way. There must be a different way of looking at all of this, and that's much more an exciting idea than my limited perspective, because that is such a small world. I'm just completely fed up with that. I don't need that any longer. So and then it is like literally, and I see this many times in the moments that I share with any one of you. It's like it is just letting an idea go that you think is defining you, thinking that something is not possible, or that you don't do it right in order to experience something, that you need to meditate in a different way in order to have a deeper experience of yourself. See, these are ideas you hold about yourself, and they're actually determining how you are experiencing yourself. See, do you see that? That's pretty amazing. So that it's not possible to see something outside of that, because that literally in your mind that does not exist, and so you don't see it. And that is amazing. So no matter how long you've been studying A Course in Miracles, or Joel, or whoever, no matter how long you have been, studying that, if that didn't help you to come to a different experience of yourself, you might as well stop with that for a moment and take a really good look at, what am I doing here? Am I really defining myself as this person that studied for so many years, and that you're very experienced in reading it, and that you know all the concepts that are in it, without having a different experience of yourself? You know, that would be, you miss out on that. That's not necessary at all. So then it becomes very easy to experiment with this, to see that your self-definitions can be thrown out of the door, so to speak, that you can let them be undone and have a different experience of yourself. So it's good to look at, how am I limiting myself? It's unbelievable. Look at that. I do this and I do that. I say no to this while I actually feel a yes. Or I'm not doing some things because I'm really afraid to do so. Or I'm not sure what's going to happen if I do something. And so I will never see what that is. Oh no, that's not for me. That is for someone else, someone who really needs it. Or that is for this, or that is for that. Like you continuously limiting yourself, and saying, like, this is my world and this is all that I want. I don't want to go beyond that. Until you do, of course. So now with our new continuum that we step right into, and with our new minds that are discovering, like in the discover mode, like okay, so that really worked well. I got a whole different experience of myself. I want more of that. Is there a possibility to let go of all these self concepts, all these limitations that I put on myself? Well, hold on, absolutely. You can certainly do that. It's like nobody's stopping you from doing that but yourself. If you think that your world is not satisfying, great, and do something with that. And it's not like come with other ideas. No, open yourself up to have a different experience of yourself. Ask for a miracle. Ask for something to open up in your life that you cannot describe yourself. And trust that that's going to be given. And see that anything is possible. Because it seems to be impossible. Every time that you think that something is impossible, know that it's possible. Like in a whole different way that you cannot come up with yourself. So now we're actually teaching miracle-mindedness. Now you're opening up to a different experience of yourself. So then there's a little bit of quantum physics in it. So it says this goes beyond the Newtonian physics. Newtonian physics is really the physics of definition of this three-dimensional world. If you drop a stone, it will accelerate that much, and you can measure it, and that's it. And if you, it's all calculable. You can calculate it. So the quantum physics has arrived at the incredible, obvious conclusion that there's no discernment between energies. Like you cannot distinguish between energies. They're finally all the same stuff. Like they're the same. See, and that comes much closer to a unity idea than anything else. So that means also the Newtonian physics, the laws that we believe in, like the laws of time, the laws of acceleration, the laws of distance, and all those two combined, time and space combined, as real, realities, is also what fixes your mind in believing that there is such a thing, and so you will see that. That becomes your world. So that it is like you probably saw movies like that. It's like if you look at the wall, it's actually basically it's space. It's not solid at all. So there's space between the little particles. They hop in and out of existence, and actually it is just energy. So it only becomes solid, for instance, if you put your attention to it. Or like literally you get the effect of your own mind in that too. Oh, here it is, an idea of time. You are in a state of absolute objection to the idea of eternity, because it involves time for you. You even with the idea of eternity, you're seeing that as something that takes a very long time. And that makes it also for you not very attractive to dive right into it, because you have like, well, if it's the same as this, I'd rather not stay in this eternality. It's like I don't want to stay in this eternity because I'm suffering quite a bit. I don't really like the idea of an eternal life. I cannot imagine it having it being it the same as I experience my life right now. So hopefully that is not what it is. See, but you have an idea about eternity as if it is a long time. And so now you ask, like, what is eternity? So, well, you ask and the universe will answer. What is eternity? What is that? Let that be revealed to me. If I give a definition, I give you a limitation. So I will not do that. What is eternity? It has nothing to do with time. See, but this is just one example. There are so many of them. It's amazing. Okay, this is interesting too. Your mind is working, obviously, only in the past tense. Only in the past tense. Everything that's constructed in you is based on what apparently has already occurred. If you do that, if you really look at it, you are not really thinking about now. You're only thinking about a moment ago. Obviously, you can't think about next week or next month. What is expressed in the Course in Miracles is that the mind of everyone on earth is actually blank. Well, look at it. So we attempt to bring you into the now, which is really what eternity is. Watch a human being come together in a group with an establishment in limitation and attempt to communicate. They will succeed only on a very limited level, but that is really all they ask for. They don't want more. So that is good to see too. It's like, yeah, we try to communicate with one another, and if you go to your day job or whatever work you do or group you're connected to, if you see how people are communicating with one another, in fact we accept that limited communication continuously. We say like, yeah, that's the way it is, there's just not so much more possible, or I accept that in the way it is now. I can deal with that, it's not too difficult for me. Like it has nothing to do with communication, basically. So to come together in a moment of timelessness, in a moment of now, in a moment of, say, pure communication, you see that something totally different is happening, that you actually feel excited and new and alert and fresh, no matter what is happening. You know, it doesn't have to go anywhere. And it is totally fulfilling and makes total sense. So that's so different. So it is confirming everyone's connection, like the connection we have, because we are one. We'll see that's reflected in a board meeting. That might take a moment, only maybe if there's a bonus for everyone involved and they're all agreeing on how much money they get after they say yes. So it is like, it's always based on a bargain, otherwise why would you do it? So now we come together with no purpose, in that sense, with no goal at all, just for the communication that is happening in this moment. And our bonus is literally a moment of communication, to feel that we're completely connected. And which is the greatest gift you can possibly receive. You know, so that is so different. It's so 180 degrees upside down. Oh, here's a nice part. So in reality, there's absolutely no communication occurring here, except when it is transcendent. One of the high forms of communication is, if you go to the Chicago Symphony tonight, and 1,000 people sit in an auditorium and share an impulse of energy, a conglomeration of rhythms or patterns of sounds, of the notions of the chromatic scale. They will enter into a form of symbiosis of a very high nature. That is what communication is. Communication ultimately has nothing to do with the definition of it. If there is one thing that Jesus teaches in A Course in Miracles, it is that experience can be unified, or that God is experiential. That is the whole basis of the Course, and can be shared because we have an absolute common denominator of reality. The tendency is to think that somehow, Jesus calls it in A Course in Miracles an absolute relationship of brotherhood, that it is inevitable in consciousness. The idea of establishment in time implies that there can be one consciousness that has arrived at a particular point within the framework that seems to be more advanced. I am absolutely, totally aware in my awakening that there are no degrees in consciousness, that there genuinely are no hierarchies of consciousness. The idea of hierarchy or establishment of planes of consciousness always occurs in the limited state as it attempts to identify singularity. So that's good to know. So you don't have to be concerned with that anymore, that you're not that far as somebody else is, because there's literally only one consciousness, and that is yours. Like everything is occurring exactly in your consciousness. That is why you perceive it like that. There is not another consciousness that is further ahead. And that sounds, see, if you place that in your limited frame of reference, then it sounds like, are we only this far, or is this or that? So based on an idea you hold about yourself. Or, see, and then, no, in the unity, in the total idea of you, in the total communication of who you are, there's only one consciousness. There's no separate parts of it. And so Joel Goldsmith says this too, in the sense of there's nothing outside your consciousness. Like there literally cannot be anything outside of that, because it is all inclusive. So that's what I love about what Master Teacher shares here too. It's like there is only one consciousness, not one is further ahead than the other. No, we're all in that same unified force field, which you can call your Holy Spirit or your Christ consciousness. Like there's literally only a Christ consciousness. So Jesus will teach in the Course that all ideas of love are efforts to communicate. All ideas of love are efforts to communicate. Finally, all communication is only self-identity, or an attempt to identify self. Limitedness can never convey. Okay, see, this is going pretty far in our development. You can feel that. It's like things are being stirred up a little bit. It's like, oh my God, now I've heard too many things. I cannot organize this. But something is being touched and something is being ripped open in that sense. And that is the idea that there's a unified force field in which we are all one, like we are all part of that. And you want to experience that, which is possible if you think that it is possible. And you can enter into that if you give up your resistance or your ideas about yourself. That is where it's coming back to all the time, because literally we deal here with your perception, with your ideas about yourself, with the way that you look at yourself. And so you don't have to have an idea about yourself. You don't have to define yourself. And I say this many times also in this way, it's like, you don't have to be concerned with your perfection. You don't have to perform perfect spiritual behavior here on this planet. Or you don't have to be concerned with that at all. Because literally that is taken care of. So it just is that this is what you do with your mind. You continuously look for lack, in fact, like you look for something that is missing in the whole story. And I can tell you with great certainty that there's nothing missing to that story. Like that story is complete and it's manifesting itself on a moment by moment basis. It has nothing to do with your ideas about yourself. See, and I know that you know this. You recognize this as yes, this is what I believe to be true too. And I would love to experience that on a moment by moment basis. So if that is really what you want to experience, nothing can stop you from doing so. So apparently there's something stopping you from doing it, otherwise you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be in this class, or you wouldn't be dealing with that. So you hold ideas about yourself that limit you, and there's no necessity to keep those ideas anymore. See, and then the natural consequence of letting these ideas go is not that you dive into I don't know what. You don't fall down into a deep hole or something. No, it is like communication is the first thing that immediately will happen. You actually feel that you are connected to everything that is. And that's happening now. And that's happening now. And you can join in that. It is happening here. It is happening now. It has nothing to do with time. It has nothing to do with your ideas. And it is the opportunity. You don't have to wait longer to study better or have deeper meditations in order to experience this. No, even that is your definition of how it is supposed to look. See, and then the next step is, in fact, that you end up on your knees asking for help. It's like, okay, can this be undone? I really don't know how to undo myself. No, I don't know how to undo my definitions of myself. So please do that for me. Like that can be your only prayer, really. Do this for me, because I know that you're doing it for me. I just have to ask that because I don't believe that. Undo that for me. See, and then we come to the place where you actually are, say, coming on the edge of both worlds, if you want. Not that there are two worlds, but in your experience of yourself there are. So you come to the place where you're on the edge of that, where you feel like, oh my God, I'm so close to that. So now what is going to happen if I'm going to open myself up instead of defending myself? What is going to happen? What is communication? How does that feel? Am I recognizing that within myself as something that I actually know to be true and actually feel that is happening? Can I feel that in this moment? See, and that is the undoing of your limited ideas is then what you can call a transformational process. Or it doesn't have to take long. Like you can let go of these ideas by being willing to do so and opening yourself up for a different experience of yourself. So I'm really happy that you share this moment with me, in which we can make attempts to communicate, to see how far we dare to go this time. Like it is really like, I dare you to come with me. I dare you to take that one step further into the communication, beyond your own description of yourself. To keep up with your description or limitation of yourself is hard work. Well, are you tired enough to give that up? Are you done with that? See, I love that. I love to teach it like this because it becomes so personal. It's amazing. So you're literally the bridge. It's up to you. All right, so thank you so much for being in this class, and next week there will be another chapter. I'll see what the title is. The miracle is your awakening, I think. Let me see. See, there's a lot of subjective thought still in the book. The miracle is your awakening is the next part. You think with the mind of God, therefore you share your thoughts with Him, as He shares His with you. They are the same thoughts, because they are thought by the same mind. To share is not to make alike, or to make one. To share is to make alike, or to make one. Nor do the thoughts you think with the mind of God leave your mind, because thoughts do not leave their source. Therefore your thoughts are in the mind of God as you are. They are in your mind as well, where He is. As you are part of His mind, so are your thoughts part of His mind. So thank you so much, and hope to see you next week. And if you're in this class, we're just gonna stay a moment together to join and share. So thank you so much.